collective intelligence, about what people are capable of together. It's an area that nobody's talking about, and I don't know why.
Richard Jacobs. He started in theatre and TV, then he built Europe's biggest distributor of extreme sports films, all by the age of 26. Richard's now trained over 400,000 people, creating mindset shifts that actually stick.
And the question is there a single problem that if we were channeling collective intelligence of this room that we couldn't solve within minutes? Is there more energy at the end of the meeting than there was at the beginning?
That is seriously good stuff.
He's helped shape billion-pound organisations, global HQs and hundreds of UK schools. But more than that, he helps people find their purpose and live what he calls their opus. Let's do this.
I'm working with Decathlon, and they have a beautiful purpose: to move people through the wonders of sport.
Keeping control of the purpose is a really important thing, yeah? ActionCOACH, the help you need to grow your business. What a profound question. I've heard like the great Stephen Covey say, what is your purpose? And it's a hard question to answer unless we were an expert, and you are an expert in this area.
I'm very curious.
You resisted every temptation to say, yes, I'm an expert in this area. Well, you've wrote books on it, and you've got a reputation for it, and you've made it really simple. And you've shared as your purpose, enlightened living. Say the statement again.
Well, I mean, I have a private purpose statement, but nobody would understand it. It's just but it means everything to me. And my closest translation would be that I serve the purpose of generating enlightened living. And I have to put a caveat to that, because I don't know what enlightened living really is. I don't know what it is, but I know it's good.
Shall we just deconstruct it for a second and just give it 30 seconds of attention? Yeah. What is enlightened living?
I feel it's certainly, I feel the process where people are looking for greater light, greater emancipation, greater connection, greater sense of unity, collective, where people are flowing more harmoniously with collective consciousness, where people are more in tune with themselves and therefore more in tune with each other, where there is a sense of excitement and exhilaration about life and about the mundane as much as about the sophisticated.
Nothing's a chore. Nothing hurts.
Yeah.
The only pain in life is resisting what is.
Very nice. Seneca said that.
Was that Seneca, was it?
He said, change itself is not painful, it's resistance to change that causes pain. So not quite the same, but very close.
We definitely were great today. You know, the fact that you knew that is back to Seneca. I'd heard Mother Teresa say that.
Oh, really? Like you literally heard her say
Oh,
it?
no, I wish, you know. I'd heard it was attributed to Mother Teresa. So I wish I'd have heard her say it.
Beautiful. So,
yeah, the only pain in life is resisting what is. And when you don't resist, guess what? There's no pain. Acceptance in its purest form, yeah? You know, the enlightened living, I was thinking there's a light shining from the inside, not the outside type thing.
Very nice.
Maybe in here, maybe around us type spiritual thing. But we're all working this out, aren't we? Even the experts.
Well, they say the more you learn, the more you realise that you don't know very much. You know?
Yeah. Okay, so who is the real Richard Jacobs? Is the person that helps you live an enlightened life, basically?
I am fascinated by collective intelligence, about what people are capable of together. It's a subject, it's an area that nobody's talking about, and I don't know why. Even it was during COVID, actually, I got talking to the head of collective intelligence at MIT, and they were only looking at it from a tech standpoint. Nobody was talking about it as a behavioral skill set. Nobody's talking about how do you generate collective intelligence in a room full of people. And so I know that I'm answering the question indirectly. You said, who is Richard Jacobs? And I'm talking about what my fascinations are. But I think that's probably the best indicator, really.
Yeah, well, look, you've thrown in another sort of key phrase in there, collective intelligence. You know, and we kind of pondering what is collective intelligence? Is it the sum of all people in your team? What is it?
Okay, so when I do piece of interactive theatre with organisations, and we can talk about how that works in a moment if you like. But so we're going to a room, maybe 500 people there. I've created a play, a piece of theatre around the issues that they face. We play that out. Lots of humour, lots of irreverence. People laugh when they recognise the pain points, and we stop at a crux moment. And then we say, okay, so 500 people in the room. How many years' experience is there? Who's been working for 5 years or more, 10 years or more, 15, 20 years? And 500 people, maybe the average is 10, 15 years. That's over 5,000 years worth of experience in the room. 5,000 years. That's when the pyramids were being made. And it's there. And the question is there a single problem we could show you that if we were channeling collective intelligence of this room that we couldn't solve within minutes? It's the ability for people to build on each other's attempts, to try things out, to try, not even to fail, but to explore and experiment together and yes and each other and be listening and throwing their own piece into the mix and evolving together in that flow. And for me, I think those are probably that and mass ideation are probably my strongest experiences of collective intelligence. And I feel like it's as important a shift as artificial intelligence.
Even in a team of 10, you know, the quantifiable life and business experience that people have got, appreciate it, acknowledge it, use it, empower it. This is what we're saying here, yeah?
Yeah. And people who are... So when I'm working with organisations, we talk about meetings, like you say, a meeting of 10 people. That's a century. There and then. But when it's dominated by one person running the meeting who's kind of fumbling for it a bit because nobody prepared, and this person who's trying to dominate the meeting and somebody else is like,
he's skimming the surface,
checked out. Yeah, the most you're leveraging 20 years. It's driving the car in first gear.
Starting your own business was an exciting time, wasn't it? The good days you had and the bad. You knew you'd have to work hard, but you did it for your future. Lately though, you're missing out on the important things in life. Time seems to be slipping by. So make the change. Claim back your work-life balance and grow your business today. Visit actioncoach.co.uk.
And when people, so I do this thing with organisations where I get them to do the PCI, the potential collective intelligence of the room.
Can we just do that micro exercise now on the listeners? So walk us through how to get that number.
Okay, so you walk into the room, there's 10 people around the table. We're going to be running a meeting, or even if we're not running it, we're part of that meeting. We do a little calculation. We go, okay, how much professional experience do we think we have in the room? 5 years, 10 years per person, 15 years per person. Let's keep it simple, 10 years per person. So we go, okay, that's 100 years worth of experience in the room right now. That's our potential. If I, who am running the meeting, am dominating that meeting, so we're using 10 to 20 years worth of experience. I might be enjoying it because I'm on an ego trip or something, but the reality is we're not really running the machine very well, and nobody's going to be engaged. If two people are politicking, again, that's taking away from the collective intelligence. So when people say, okay, how do you take potential collective intelligence, so the 100 potential years that we can leverage here, and make it actual, I, as the person running the meeting, really move into a facilitation mode. And you say, okay, I've got to change my ratios from telling to asking. I've got to be a much better listener. I'm going to be echoing people. I'm going to be summing people up in ways where I'm not taking any sides. I call it being Switzerland, where you're listening to people, summing them up in ways that where they feel they're being acknowledged, where they understand that they've been understood. Then they don't have to talk so much, and then they can share their ideas and they can build on each other's ideas. Clear time frames, making sure everybody's been included. It's fundamental facilitation, really. So yes, that's what I think is a switch.
Yeah, I mean, that's an incredible example that you've just given there from there's definitely humility and vulnerability involved in what you've just said. Like, who am I to run this? Look at what we've got in the room. That's humility, yeah? And a bit of vulnerability in the process, but things that were standing out there: collaboration, engagement, facilitation, all skills that people can develop pretty quickly, to be fair.
Yeah.
If you have the desire.
Absolutely.
Is that enlightenment in a team?
Well, it's I've got all the hairs are standing up my arms. They can't stand up anywhere else. It's funny you should say that, because very good theme. For me, the measure on meetings, I think the meetings are the artery of organisational effectiveness in many ways, some of the main arteries. And for me, there is one fundamental measure. Is there more energy at the end of the meeting than there was at the beginning?
Oh, you're bringing out the big dogs here today.
And if there is, that's more light. That's
Guys,
more juice.
Pay attention to this. Let's start rating the energy at the start of the meeting and at the end of the meeting, and see what happens to your business, guys, and your team.
Completely.
That is seriously good stuff. You know, before you were in business, you were in theatre, yeah? In show business.
Show business.
What can all businesses learn from show business?
You know, there are hours of podcasts that could be done just on that, because, okay, so let's travel back to, like, you know, the mid 1800s when I was like 25 years old. And I started off training. I'm in training. I was in theatre, film and television, working as an actor. I was still working as an actor. And I'd moved into training, and I had a million ideas. And for one reason or another, I don't know how it happened, but I'd ended up in boardrooms when I was 25, 26. So I was a good 25 years younger than the next person next to me. And I was genuinely, I would just ask very simple questions. And I was always looking at people as an actor. I was never looking at people like an organisational change person or something. I was like, what would I have to do to be you? What would I have to think? How would I have to stand? I can see that breathing thing.
I'm getting a little bit scared here now.
And I remember people saying with great authority, it takes 18 months to build a good team, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know about that, because in theatre you've got 3 weeks. You've got a 3-week rehearsal period. So if you haven't nailed the team by Wednesday of week 1, you're in real trouble. And there is a definite start date. You're going to go on stage on that date, at that time, the lights come on, and you got to give it.
And there's no hiding places.
No hiding place.
It's the power of the performance, isn't it? I mean, you're making me think, like, in theatre, you have to go and practice, and you got to learn your lines, because you want to get it right on the night. Well,
in amateur theatre, a lot of it is to take to the point where people really know their lines. And in professional theatre, you pretty much start with your lines learned. That's where you begin the rehearsal process, because the rehearsal process is a creative process. And I always say to people, because I'm running teams of actors all the time, and I know when people are losing their lines or losing a place, then it's not because of the lines, it's because of the thought. If it's to be or not to be, that's the question, whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortunes, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. When the thought is there, it runs smoothly off. But if you're trying to think of what the words are, we never think what the words are in life. We're following the thoughts and the intentions, and then the words fit it.
Flow.
Exactly.
What you said right at the start of all of that, it's a creative process. You're involved in creating it. And what you said before that point was 3 weeks. We've got 3 weeks to get this right, to nail this, to smash this, to put on a performance like never before. Yep. Have you ever spent 3 weeks with a team in business? Literally. I'm just thinking, take this example on steroids. Imagine you're the conductor of the orchestra for the next 3 weeks. how good is that team going to perform in business?
Can I give you an example? It's not 3 weeks, but it's the one that reminds me of. So I did a program with a company called the 24-Hour Theatre Challenge. And it was a company, project management team that work in the city, build skyscrapers. And we hired a theatre in London. We got them there at 2:00 in the afternoon. We did some theatre games, some status, mime, impro stuff. Came into the auditorium at 7:00 that night. We said, okay, 7:00 now. At 7:00 tomorrow night, the show goes on. There's no script. It's a full house. We're going to come up with the stories. We're going to split you up into groups of 4. You're going to take what we did in the sessions that we did this afternoon, and we're going to create a piece of theatre based on the values of the organisation. You're going to come up with the stories, and me and my team are going to help you shape them theatrically. We're not going to give you the stories, but we're going to help you theatricalise them. Now, in the lead up to this, I had, and you said, what about how can theatre or showbiz impact the business world? I got a call, kind of a panicked call from the organisation saying, look, we love this idea and everything, it's amazing, but, people are saying they're going to be terrified and we're going to pull a sickie. Could you come in and talk to them? So I went in and I said, so, you're nervous about it, you don't want to come, is that it? It's a few people, but yeah, because I might make a mistake, I might look stupid. I said, yeah, you might. You definitely could make a mistake and you definitely could look stupid. Yep. Okay. And? Yeah, but I don't want to do that. I said, how much time do we spend in our lives trying to avoid moments of potential embarrassment? It's what John Cleese said. An Englishman's idea of a perfect life is to go from cradle to grave without the slightest hint of embarrassment. And I knew people in that organisation who had circumvented opportunities because they didn't want to speak. They didn't want to be seen. I said, yes, you might take a risk being there. I said, but one of the reasons we're doing this is because you don't know your colleagues. You work with them. You don't really know them. The moment you step into the light and that person who you don't really talk to steps into the light next to you and you look across and there's a moment of truth, it'll never be the same again. So I think in some ways, theatre can give people a rite of passage, and it can bring to get this. You said, what's it like? If you're 3 weeks together, after the 24-hour theatre challenge, nobody left the theatre. We were there all night. We slept in the theatre. We started at 9:00 the following morning with breakfast, and then we worked all the way through the day. And people were exhausted, but they had to kick everybody out of the theatre because everybody was chatting and doing this and doing that and talking about all the moments and loving it. And 2 weeks later, we did a debrief, and what they were saying amongst themselves was, none of us had done theatre before, and we put on a show. What else are we capable of? That's the perfect question, isn't it?
You did it again. You brought me in, and I got goosebumps as you're saying it. When the spotlight comes on, and when you're eyeballing the other person that's in the spotlight, and you don't really speak to these much, your next connection, you're never going to forget this for the rest of your lives. Yeah. You're connected on a different plane, and I suppose that is what all businesses can learn from show business: the ability to connect with your team on a completely different plane. That's what I got from that.
And impro, I think improvisation. I think it's a very underrated skill set.
The word, the realization. When you have a realization in life, it's more than an epiphany, bigger than an epiphany. There's some things that are a bit of a blinding flash of the obvious, common sense type thing, and then you've got an epiphany moment. But then you've got a point of realization. And those are defining moments in people's lives. So when you had that debrief, he slept in the theatre afterwards. When you had the debrief afterwards, and the team just realises this point, if we can do that in 24 hours, imagine what we can do then. That's that point of realization is the magnitude, is the sum of everything that's come before it. And that's the special ingredient it is for moving forward, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you've drawn attention to it in a beautiful way, because I think one of the things that I remember them saying was that they weren't saying let's put on another show. They were saying let's solve the homeless problem in our area. They wanted to give. They wanted to contribute. They wanted to make a difference.
Biggest gift in life is to give, yeah?
Yeah.
And something bigger than the business, community impact, wider impact. In actual fact, from all of the businesses that you worked with, how many of them have got a clear purpose?
They've got stated purpose, but it's not very, very few. It's on the tip of their tongue. It's like governs their decision making, and not governs, but guides their decision making, guides their conversations. I'm working with Decathlon at the moment, and they have a beautiful purpose to move people through the wonders of sport.
It's good, isn't it?
It's great. And they walk it. You know, everybody does sport in Decathlon. When they do team meetings, when they get together, everybody plays sport together. They always do, always have done. It's a very, very cool company, actually.
It's reminded me of Disney. I mean, you know, Disney, I hear stories that you've got to watch all of the Disney movies. You've got to know every character's name backwards in different languages, all this kind of thing. You've literally got to know them all. You've got to know the story of all the Disney movies. So the first 6 weeks is you basically watching Disney movies all day, every day for 6 weeks.
Which is amazing. But I was just aware of the challenge when you were talking about it, because Google just across the way from there, and they're a big client of mine. And I started working with Google in 2003, you know, when the internet was just a very sweet little thing, you know.
Sweet little thing.
It was. It was like 300 people in the London office. Yeah. It's now like 9,000 people. There's now 200,000, 150 to 200,000 people at Google around the world. I mean, then the Paris office was 25 people. It was sweet. And then, you know, I've worked with them on different chunks over the years, and a lot in the last 8 years. But, you know, that thing, with great power comes great responsibility. They had a very strong and defined purpose to organise the world's information, make it useful, and do no evil. And the bigger they get, the harder and the more they're intertwined with all sorts of different areas of society, the bigger the challenge to live that purpose. And a lot of people do, but it's very hard to do it cohesively when it's that big.
It's an interesting point, isn't it? The bigger you get, does it make it easier to live your purpose, or harder?
Harder, I think.
Because there's more moving parts, there's more people involved, there's more things you've got to be aware of.
Yeah. If you had 10 people serving in a restaurant, in your restaurant, you could have a real relationship with all those people, and you'd see each other all the time. You'd know who was having a tough night. You'd be able to feel it, you know, like basketball. It's all lateral awareness. But if your restaurant is on 4 floors, how do you know who's having a bad night?
Then it becomes about culture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so some of the listeners, there might be 5 employees, there might be 10 employees, they might be growing to the 100 employees. Some people might have 100 people in their team, or 200. But, you know, let's just acknowledge, if you got 100 people on the bottom floor and you go into 4 floors, keeping control of the purpose is a really important thing, yeah? And do we do that through culture? Is that one of the ways?
We do it through living it, I think, but let's break it down a bit, because that's too flippant an answer. My feeling is that there's a DNA of organisational change, and it doesn't matter if it's a small company or Google, and it's strategy. Where are we going to go? How are we going to get there? Processes. What's the team and tech that underpins the strategy? And the third is mindset and behaviours. And none of them are optional. But pretty much every organisation I've ever met in 30 years focuses on the top 2, strategy and processes, and almost nothing on mindset and behaviours. Why? Because they don't know how to spreadsheet it. And as people know in business life, you know, if it doesn't fit on a spreadsheet, it doesn't exist. And yet, if you think about it, if you've got 100 people in an organisation or 1,000 people, and you want to change the strategy, or you want to change the IT policy, how long does it take to get the new kit, to get the subscriptions, to get people trained up, to get this, to get them to legacy systems, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of work. But you can change your behaviour overnight. It's the fastest of all the three, actually, and probably the fastest way to go. Stephen Covey said it, culture eats strategy for, I think it was either lunch or breakfast, but anyway, it eats it.
Breakfast, yeah. I think lots of the great business people have said it. Peter Drucker, I think, is. Yeah, so process, strategy, mindset, behaviors.
And behaviors, yeah. And so, yes, it's culture that does that because you can't be on 4 floors at the same time. If there is the same ethos on all 4 floors, and it's bigger than the person who started it, it's taken on its own life, then it's sustainable because it's self-sustaining. A bit like if you said, if we were to change the meetings culture of an organisation and consistently there's more energy at the end of the meetings than there was at the beginning, it's going to sustain itself, because people like it. It's good. It's juicy living.
It's juicy living. Yeah, I mean, and it's alignment as well, isn't it? So we're aligned across 3 areas. Everybody knows the strategy, where we're going. Everyone knows the process, how we're doing what we're doing, the process is, and we're all behaving and aligned in the same kind of culture points, mindset-wise.
And if one can then start to find, I guess, acupuncture points of those behavioural shifts, then it's easy to implement it. So, for example, yes and. The fundamental basis of improvisation, a lot of people have heard about. We can recap if you think it's relevant. But essentially, anytime we're saying yes and, we're accepting and building.
Yeah.
So I'm yes and, yes and, yes and, yes and. And then the opposite being yes but, which is kind of putting the blocks on, and then
creating friction.
Exactly. And then a third level, which I talk about, which is yes, however.
Which is a posh but. It's a posh word for but, yeah?
Posh, yes, but is a posh word for but. Yes,
yeah,
however.
Is a posh.
Well, I kind of use it as a flip, as a positive yes, but. So if I said, we go for a walk today, and you go, yeah, but it's raining, I could go, yeah, however, I've got this huge golfing umbrella, there's going to be nobody around, we'll be able to have the canal to ourselves. Yeah, but,
Yeah, however, is a great response to yes, but. If someone says yes, but, yes, however, here's an alternative but.
Yeah.
Your book deserves to be published, and selfpublishing.com wants to help make it happen. You'll work one-to-one with an author strategist to write, publish, and market your book the right way. With more than 8,000 authors and 100,000 books in print, they know what works. Ready to bring your story to life? Visit selfpublishing.com/ActionCOACH right now. Oh, that is funny. That is good.
So that's what I mean by these little kind of behavioural acupunctural
yes,
points.
and you use a power statement afterwards. It is
accept and build.
Accept and build. That's right.
Yeah, I would say it's the algorithm of progress.
I'm just processing it for a second. Accepting and building is the algorithm of progress.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's beautiful. I have never heard anyone say that before. Now I've heard a lot of people talk about yes and, but I've never heard someone say something that profound. It's almost philosophical, that is, really. Accept and build. This is the foundation of progress.
Can I tell you a story about that?
Go for it.
True story. When I was at uni, I got spotted doing a piece of student theatre, and I got offered a professional role. And it was my first professional acting role, and it was the best thing I could ever. Somebody would pay me to do something that I would give everything to do was just, outrageous. The only thing was it happened during my final exams. I got this play and a bit of telly during my final exams. And so I had to let them know the following morning, So I'm walking around in my flat, and I called my dad, and I'm like, Dad, I don't know what to do, and I could do the play, but I've got my finals, and how am I going to work this and stuff? He goes, I'll call you back. Give me 10 minutes. Best thing he ever did, best piece of advice he ever gave me. Ultimately, I called my brother, because 10 minutes is a long time when you're waiting for your dad to call you back, And I said, Mike, what do you think I should do? And stuff. He goes, it's great that you've been offered it. You'll get these parts again. It's wonderful. Take that as a pat on the back. You should do your finals. You've worked all this, for your exams and blah, blah, blah. So I knew it was sensible, but I didn't feel very good. My dad calls me back. He goes, if you do the play and you do your finals, what result do you think you'll get? And I said, probably a 2-2, kind of a B, all right. He said, if you don't do the play and you do your finals, what result do you think you'll get? And I said, I think probably a 2-1. He goes, this is what I think you should do. Do the play and get a 2-1. And my mind went, and I had no idea that I was yes-butting myself. Yes, play, but finals. Yes, finals, but I want to do the play. So I was automatically polarizing myself away from the things that I really wanted. And he went, yes, and. He didn't use those words. Well, he kind of did, but I didn't realize that at the time. He said yes to that and to that. Build a bridge between the things that actually are most meaningful for you. And suddenly that released a whole lot of energy that I'd never accessed before. And then, of course, you get all those synchronicities. I borrow people's notes. My flatmate does this. I managed to learn the 3 examples that I could kind of weave into all the essays of my exams and all that sort of thing. I end up leaving exams 20 minutes early to get to the theatre, to get into makeup and costume and out on stage in time and all that sort of thing, which is an absolute scream and really good fun. If you're not going to do it in your 20s, when are you going to do that, And I got my equity card, I got my first thing, and I got a 2-1. And it was because of yes and.
It was because of that moment with your dad.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful example of coaching, that is, to be honest, that you received in the moment of your dad. So he asked you a couple of powerful questions. Well, give you space to think first, didn't he?
Yeah.
I'll give you 10 minutes. And then he was probably thinking, what the hell are you going to say? He asked you 2 powerful questions. You felt listened. You felt understood. He was understanding too. And then he challenged you really hard. He sort of laid down the sort of, he's laid down the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Knowing that ultimately I would have wanted both those things. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful example. Yeah. Now, the book, Find Your Purpose in 7 questions, essentially, isn't it? Tombstone question, is that number 1?
Tombstone is, Desert Islands is the first
one. Desert
one.
Islands number 1, isn't it? Yeah, it's very creative. It's a workshop in its own right, is that book.
What was your experience of the 7 questions?
Two kind of experiences. Number 1, I like that there's a methodology I like following frameworks and system at the end. But the other experience, because we did a session online and we really we might have had 10 minutes on each of the sort of questions. But what really happened, there was probably 100 coaches on that call online. It had a tremendous impact on them.
Tell me.
Well, they were all connected to the purpose afterwards. We kind of role played and workshopped it during it, and it had an impact on them personally. So I'm pretty connected with it, and ever since that day, because of the experience that we've had, I found I've got a lot of bias towards you. People start talking to me about purpose. I get them the book. I'll read this book. Tell me what you think. Give me a call in 2 weeks once you've read it. Doing your dad kind of thing on it, just laying down this. Once you've read it, tell me what it is. So the impact that it's had on me, it's made my life easier by having frameworks and a trusted source where I can say, go and learn from an expert.
Thank you.
Yeah. What impact has it had on you writing that book?
Well, it's had an impact in unexpected ways because people contact me who I would never normally meet.
Who found their purpose.
Yeah, or who've read the book, and people from all over. I got to get a call from the States, and can we use your book as a basis for so-and-so for educating teachers in a district of whatever? And I'm like, well, amazing. I mean, I had no connection with those. So it's brought all sorts of different areas around that. But I think really, I mean, lots of different things. There's a little thing as an example, and a big thing. One of them was, I remember going to a book fair with my publishers, and people behaving with me in a very different way. It was almost like, with giving me a lot of status. And I'm saying, well, if you'd met me yesterday, before you know I was an author, would you have treated me like this? I'm the same bloke, And I realised that the word authority, the root of the word authority is author.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. People give a lot of kudos to the written word. But that's almost an aside. I think the thing that's given me most is that, one has to really focus. It's a lot of effort writing a book, to actually write it rather than kind of outsource it, writing it with help, if you like. And so it requires a lot of commitment, especially, me, I'm dyslexic, and, giving myself completely to the written word was a rite of passage for me. But it meant that if I was committed enough to go through to be a dyslexic writing a book, then I had to really believe in what I was talking about. And so when you talk about the framework of asking oneself a question and then saying, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your answer, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, and it has to be above an 8. So if you've written a 7, how do you pop it to an 8 or an 8 to a 9?
Yeah.
For me, the yes factor, that has been a huge boon in my life. I do everything on the yes factor, constantly. And I do it with my wife. She tries something on, it's a 6.5, it's a 9. We're doing this all the time. Our kids are doing this all the time. That yes factor, which I love, super simple. The other thing is that it's been a constant teacher in the power of spontaneous wisdom. So the questions are phrased in a way that is designed to go to your creative mind. If you're on a desert island, if you're, the book of life, that sort of thing. With meaning built in. If you're going to describe what's on your tombstone, it's not frivolous. So the structure gives it some density. And yet you need to make these decisions you need to choose what's going to go into the book. It's not an open question. It's a closed question. You can write whatever you like, but there's 3 sentences and you've got 15 words max per sentence, and they're going down, and you don't get to move on until you've done that, and they've got to be 8, 9, 10. You've got to be 3 distinctive things. So the moment there is a commitment, there's a ... The 3 sentences are things like 1, ... 2, ... So the ellipsis, I love the ellipsis. And that's what I mean by this spontaneous wisdom, is that when there is enough that's left open, nature loves a vacuum. Our conscious and our subconscious fills that gap, and we surprise ourselves by sometimes the beauty and profundity of what we say.
I'm just going to speak to the audience and the listeners for a second, actually. If finding your purpose is something that you definitely want to do, get the book, follow the exercises, and then just comment back. You'll literally read every single comment.
Absolutely,
every single comment. Comment back on what changed once you've done it. Because when I go over the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it's really attention grabbing. That is, it's got a number in it, the same number as yours, hasn't it? But it's very attention grabbing. Who else had one? Or Jim Rohn, he had 7 strategies for wealth and happiness. So you're up there with Jim Rohn and the great Stephen Covey.
You're up there with the greats if you choose 7.
It's a title that's compelling. 7 questions to find your purpose. The big thing, and I said this right at the start, is the framework. It's not just a book. It's a workshop.
So tell me, what did you get from the framework from you?
It originally, going back 3 or 4 years, I'm trying to connect to my purpose, and I knew back then it was to make good things happen. To make good things happen to good people. All right, so I went back there, and I find myself living my purpose anyway, because like you, I'm dyslexic, and everyone diagnoses people with ADHD these days, don't they? But there you go. I think we've all got it some way. I mean, I have definitely got it.
I am. I mean,
But you know what? One of my realizations personally was it's not affecting me negatively, dyslexia or ADHD, because I am living my purpose. And I'm in an organisation where I get to help coaches become incredible coaches. So that's my job. I am pushing the boundaries of coaching excellence every single day, training, helping the people that help everyone else. And, that's where I ended up. Okay. Who helps the people that helps everyone else?
Yeah.
That's what I get to do. It's my purpose. And, big fan of anyone that can eloquently put it across like you do. So.
And how thrilling is it when you see somebody, when you see that when they step up to the next level, or their eyes open, or there's a spark here, or the lights go on. I mean, how thrilling is that?
Look, purpose is an antidote to distraction. I'm telling you. So ADHD, people with ADHD, they get distracted by certain different things, and I would be one of those if I didn't have a purpose.
That's very well said, actually. I hadn't thought about it from the ADHD perspective.
But because I've got a purpose, guess what? I focus on. It's there all day, every day. It's never got the best out of me. It's never got the worst out of me. It's just like I am going on my purpose. So purpose is, it just gets you focused.
It's the highest relationship to life that we can define, I think.
And I'm a big fan personally of giving credit to the people that require the credit. In fact, the more credit I can give over people like yourself, you're the expert in that. Actually, it demonstrates my capability and who I know, and so that's why I buy hundreds of your books and dish them out.
Well, I'm also fascinated to know from you. What do you know about coaching now? Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Yeah, just go anything.
You're coaching coaches.
Yeah.
What do you know about coaching now from having coached those coaches that you didn't 10 years ago?
What do I know from coaching? Coaching's a huge commitment to someone else. It's not about you, it's about them, really. And it is a huge commitment. I did know that 10 years ago. But I knew it from a sporting perspective. And in sports, you train every day. Elite athletes, they train every day. Don't quite work like that in business and life. So what do I know now? It's a huge commitment to someone else in setting standards in their lives, in helping them tell the truth to people around them, and helping them be themselves along the way. So you've got to have all three. You got to have all three areas.
Deep authenticity.
Deep authenticity. I always say that statement. 2 words, if you write them down now as big as you can on one piece of paper, literally, if you write these 2 words down as big as you can, one piece of paper, you'll never ever forget them for the rest of your life. Be yourself. I've just added a bit of drama to the same thing that thousands and thousands of people are saying right now on social media. We've just dramatized it a bit like you probably do on stage. Be yourself. That that requires a commitment, and that's what coaches do for people. They develop that. I mean, never ever in leadership terms has authenticity been so paramount that you are yourself. You know, it's frowned upon the dictators of the world.
Yeah, maybe that's why it's so important now, or maybe that's why it's even more important now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so collective intelligence we've been. Surfing the wave of change. That's what I've got written down here. Creating a lasting impact. How does one create lasting impact? You know,
it's really funny you should ask the question. I had a feeling a while ago. I said before we started that I wasn't certain about writing a book, but I am feeling the beginnings of the next stage of purpose now, and I call it opusing. It's about consciously creating your opus.
What's an opus?
Your life's work. Yeah.
Is that the definition of the word opus?
Yeah. It's the opus really is your masterwork. And one could look at great people from the past and discuss whether something was their opus or not. You know, is Shakespeare's opus the tragedies, or is it the collected works, or is it the sonnets, or whatever? Is Mozart's opus, you know, the magic Don Giovanni, Marriage of Figaro, and the Magic Fruit, or whatever? But really, yeah, your masterwork. And so with a great man called Richard Oakes, who you would love to meet, actually, you should probably be on this. He's an elite athlete. He's the fastest man in the world on a bike for his age group. He's just written a book called The Equation. He's mastered, this guy. And we worked together. He was a coaching client of mine a long time ago, and we did Purpose together, and we've kind of kept in touch a lot over the years. And now, working with him sort of 20 years on from Purpose, saying, okay, well, how do we explore what our opus is? And what's really interesting is that it has a kind of, there's a frequency to it. You pick up food and you kind of know if it's good for you or not before you take a bite.
Yeah.
And even if it's not according to what's written in the different columns of the thing, you sort of know it.
Yeah.
And in the same way as when a piece of work comes in, or you're attracted to it, you kind of know if it's charged, if it's
Good
has the
example.
opusing signature or not.
So the clearer you get on your opus, it's kind of like your legacy at a younger age, isn't it?
Yes, except that one of the things that we've been talking about a lot in terms of the feeling of it, the experience of opusing, is that neither of us, when we're exploring it, are interested in what gets left behind. It's not about what part of us stays on, as if there's some kind of hint or attempt at immortality. It's more about what's the gift that we give to the future, because you're not going to you're not really living your purpose if it's about me. You're living, I serve the purpose of, so I'm serving something bigger than myself. And therefore opusing is about how can I leave the world better than I found it.
Where can our listeners find out more about opusing?
Well, I guess maybe through you we can do something together, or I can give an email address and then have people's emails, and then contact them when
your
when
masterwork, your life's work coming together, living the bit that you're destined to do. I mean, I suppose when you understand that, well, you just know what to say no to, don't you?
Yeah.
And you commit wholeheartedly to that.
Yeah.
And is that above purpose? That is a second layer of deep, meaningful purpose.
I would say that if purpose is a diamond, is the diamond, right, that one discovers within. In my first book, I used a metaphor about that. My wife and I were in Barbados years ago, and we saw these turtles laying their eggs on the beach, and these little guys hatching and going to that. And we talked to these naturalists, and we said, look, if it's such a hazardous journey for them to get those 100 yards to the sea, why don't you put them in a bucket, take them out to sea and let them go? You know, isn't their survival rate going to be higher? He said, yes, that's true, but they'll never find their way back. What do you mean? He said there's a little crystal inside their heads that when they're born, when they come out of they go towards the sea, they go to the biggest light source in front of them, which is the horizon in a natural environment. And that crystal gets charged with a longitudinal, latitudinal reference point of the planet, where they are. So they could literally swim around the world and they'll come back to the same 100 meters of beach to lay their eggs. And if we take them away, they don't get that charge. And so for me, purpose is you discover the diamond. I name it. It's only when I name what that diamond is, that highest intent, that greatest relationship for life, that I can start to live it. Because when I name it, it's conscious. I can lean on it. I can choose it. For me, opusing is, I'm really settled in with that diamond. What's the biggest amount of light I can shine through it?
It's amazing, it's nature, isn't it? I mean, I had goosebumps then again. I mean, I get it. The longitudinal diamond that forms here. Suppose if that happens for turtles, why wouldn't that happen for us? Why wouldn't it? You know, they're moving to the light in terms of the horizon, but we're moving to the light in terms of within, yeah?
And our possibility.
The opus. You got me. You got the listeners. Really love it. Really get it. And I really want it, to be honest. You know, I'll dedicate the rest of my life to opusing.
Oh, all that again. You're doing this thing.
Yeah, everything you've just talked about, a lot of our listeners will want. Yeah, for sure.
Well, we could start it as, again, I was thinking that maybe I come to the point where I'm very confident in the framework, and then before giving it out. But there may be a possibility that we could run a session as a point of departure for exploration.
Wonderful.
As a step one.
I've got some quick questions for you. I don't know how quick these are going to be, but let's have a look. So what are you most proud of in your life?
My kids.
Who are the kids?
So I've got twins.
I've got twins.
Have you?
Yeah.
How old are your twins?
9.
Really? Congratulations, boys, girls.
Boy and girl, Emily and Elliot.
Oh,
we've got Olivia as well, who's 7, but there you go.
We've got a boy and a girl.
What are the
Zach
names?
and Kira.
How old?
They'll be 19 in July.
There you go.
Yeah. So my family is what I'm most proud of in the world.
And I bet vice versa too.
Well,
I bet they're most proud of you too.
I hope so. Outside that, I think the things I'm most proud of are my relationships. The friends' relationship with my
You know what that
brother
means,
and
don't you?
sisters. What?
It means you're a happy person. Success and happiness is not about fame or fortune. It's about developing relationships with the people that matter most in life. The stronger those relationships, the happier you are. End of. That was the great Dale Carnegie.
Oh, yeah. I knew what he was talking about. Yeah.
If you could rewire one belief that human beings have, what would that belief be?
That you need to be better than somebody else in order to be your best self.
And we'd turn that belief to be, what would the alternative of being better than someone else be? So let's grab hold of it.
The greatness is found in being yourself at your juiciest.
Greatness is found in being yourself at your juiciest. You've heard it here today, guys. We've just been creating brilliance. Utterly brilliant. All right, so what's the biggest myth about purpose?
That it's predestined. I believe it's half discovered, half created. Half. Destiny is the destination that you choose, wholeheartedly. It's never imposed from the outside. It's never imposed from something else. We either have free will or we don't. You can't be a bit pregnant. So it's never happening to us. It's us happening to it. And so I would say that's the biggest myth.
And what's one thing that most leaders do that actually kills purpose?
There's a big list. What do most leaders do that kills purpose? Can I give you a couple of very quick fire things? One is they think that because this is my relationship to purpose, that needs to be your relationship to purpose.
Right.
That passion for some people is dancing on the table with a rose in their mouth. For some people, it's sitting in a squashy armchair with an amazing book. You know, it's different for everybody, but the experience is just as rich.
Yeah.
Another thing is that people don't do the servant leadership thing enough. Lead by serving, serve by leading.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of leaders think they're the most important person in the room. And they're not.
Maybe are they the other? Are they the least?
They're as important as everybody else.
Nice. Appreciate everybody thinks differently and feels differently.
Totally.
Serve. Dedicate your life to serving others. That's what I heard in that.
Yeah. Completely. And you know, when you look at the studies, this is not fluffy. When you look at the studies of people on their last breaths on the planet, and you say, what was most important to you? They don't talk about their bank statements. They don't talk about that car. They don't talk about. They talk about the relation. They talk about how they were with people, the people around them, what they gave to people, how they helped people. Those are the things that are most important to them. Who's to argue with people on their last breaths? What do you know at 40 compared to somebody who's at the end of their life, who's looking back on it after all those years? It's a constant repeated story.
I say get Richard Jacobs in your life and get Opus in as soon as you can. You know, that is living your legacy. That is living it. Opus in at as younger age as possible. That is purpose on steroids. That's the epicenter of the diamond, the Opus, or is the Opus the diamond?
Well, even if the work that I do in my 30s, when I'm trying to engage with it intentionally in opusing, even if it doesn't end up to be my opus later, I'm giving everything I can to it.
Absolutely. You know, and purpose changes. Maybe it does for some people. Maybe it evolves. But if you've developed that skill in your 30s, you know where you're going at a faster pace in your 40s or 50s, don't you?
Yeah.
What's the best advice you've ever had?
This yes and that I told you about my dad.
What's the hardest lesson been in life?
That what I noticed when my dad died was a bit like, you know when the fridge is making a sound and you only notice it when it stops. I felt like that I was leaning against the wind a bit, you know, the wind of his love, and then it was gone. And came off center. And the lesson was that you become your own parent. You become your own parents. And that it's an archetypal move. That one becomes like my brother and my sisters. We're now that generation. We're now that generation. We're the last ones, you know, that one. So one's life is not just one's own. It's bigger than oneself.
You got me again. You got me again on that one. I think you got everyone on that one. Now we've done this interview, podcast, whatever you want to call it, what do you think the headline of it should be?
Well, my thought always goes to irreverence, and I'm always thinking something juicy because that's the word that keeps on coming up.
Yeah, I like juicy. This is the third time you said it.
I guess it would be juicy jubilance.
Juicy
jubilance. But I think probably this is about opusing. It's really, how do I start imagining myself? How do I start imagining what could possibly be my opus?
The power of your opus.
Yeah.
I mean, that's curiosity straight away. What on earth is an opus?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a word people use very much.
The diamond.
Yeah.
Find your diamond.
Yeah.
You know, there's something in it. All right, what's the first action that the listeners should take now that they've listened to this? I say get the book.
Well, I would love people to get the book and find and explore and live their purpose in a deep way. I think the first action is pay as much glorious attention to what seem like the ordinary moments to what seem like the big moments.
Be present. That's how you started, really, on the meditation and breathe in and feel it at the top, breathe out, feel it at the bottom. Just start noticing. And the more you notice it, the more you notice it.
The more it's there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My favourite bit of this session. I love the little sort of tactical, practical energy at the meeting, energy at the end of the meeting earlier on. I really loved that, but honestly, you got me a number of times today, like being connected on a whole different level. When the spotlight's on you and the spotlight's on them, that moment right now, these words that are exchanged, you will never, ever forget. I got team connection from you on a whole different plane today. That's been my favourite bit.
I find that moment of collective intelligence thrilling because nobody knows what's going to happen. But we're all swept up in this extraordinary element. It's like there's a new element in the room.
To be fair, actually, that's been my second favourite bit. My first favourite bit, which I'm massively curious about, I don't understand enough, but I've got the desire to want to understand more, is opusing. I think you've opened up a whole new door of possibility to everyone on the planet, to be honest. I've never heard anyone talk about that. What's been your favourite part?
Do you have 2 minutes? Do we have 120 seconds?
Yeah.
So what I'm feel like asking you is say, okay, so you're a coach of coaches. If you were to imagine in the elements of what you could give or contribute to now are having an impact in the kids of your great grandchildren and to the great grandchildren of the people you're coaching, what kind of an impact would you love them to have, whether they know about you or not?
I would love to, because some principles of what I stand for and believe in are evergreen. That means they're more than 5,000 years old. This is Egyptian principles that have gone through Chinese philosophy, that have gone through your Senecas, your Marcus Aurelius, your Aristotle's, and then it's turned into the people that we know these days of, I don't know, Dale Carnegie and Napoleon Hill, Jim Rohn, Viktor Frankl's. All of their key principles, it stood the test of time more than 5,000 years. So what I would want in the great grandchildren of the next 6-7 generations is I'd want those evergreen principles instilling and embedding with those children as young as possible. And that started for me with my daughter Olivia at age 2. When I read the stories at night, she goes into it. So generational impact of evergreen principles of self-development, doing good in the world, younger and younger and younger for every generation that comes. So
everybody's standing on the shoulders of each other's learning at an earlier and earlier age. Yeah. That's gorgeous.
Well, I tell you, we've got something right with this, the red arrows.
Oh yeah, tell me.
So the red arrows, I think it's every year, or it might be every 2 years. Every 2 years, the team changes. You're not allowed to be a red arrow for more than 2 years. It could be 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. It's one of the two. Frank Dick, one of my mentors, taught me this. But he says they've nailed it because the goal of the red arrows is every generation is better than the generation that came before. So they've only got a 2 year window. but the next group has got to be better than them. So they've got to pass on somehow. They've got to pass on all of this to the next 2 years so that when they start, they're even better than these. How on earth do you succession plan like that in that fast a cadence? So they've got something right there. I need to study that.
The All Blacks as well.
Yeah, I mean, the book James Kerr Legacy, of course, it was written on about the All Blacks, but it certainly gets into your head that the 15 lessons on leadership there. Really powerful questions there. What's been your favourite bit of this discussion?
Well, I loved just now when you were talking about when you were seeing those principles being echoed out generationally, and I witnessed a difference in the way you spoke and in your cadence, in the time.
I was finding sense and purpose as it went on. I mean, because I can get it there. It's the young, actually, for each generation, it gets embedded at a younger age. Until we've changed the evolution, we're born with it. We're born with it. Imagine being born with all of these principles from Egyptians to...
Maybe that's enlightened living.
Yeah, you know,
maybe we finish.
We are born with it. You know, that's evolution, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because evolution, you are born with it.
My favourite thing has been the riff, the connection.
Yeah.
I've really, really enjoyed our conversation. You're a great conversationist. You've got a lovely quality about you. You're humble and curious, and obviously very switched on and very knowledgeable and magnanimous. And I've really enjoyed it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Jacobs, give the man a hand. Thank you very much. You've touched all our hearts. See you next time.